So, as you all, of course, know, once again, I'm Carol Christ, Chancellor of UC Berkeley. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are on Ohlone land and that I'm a settler on that land. Many of you heard my opening comments earlier today. Now, I believe in a human capacity for change and transformation. Upon some deep reflection and careful conversation with students, I want to retract almost all of my earlier comments. I have concluded that this administration made a significant error in judgment. Let me be straightforward and connect to you person to person. Students, I am sorry. I am so sorry. Free Speech Week was a mistake. I made a mistake. Today, I move in support of our most vulnerable communities and against racism, white supremacy, and ethno-nationalism in all of its grotesquely explicit and insidiously implicit forms. Let's come back to this question of whose speech is free. The speech espoused on this campus as free has actually been quite expensive, and I would like to acknowledge some of the funders. Hedge fund billionaire Robert Mercer is a major investor behind Milo Yiannopoulos. The billionaire Koch brothers and Amway billionaires Richard and Helen DeVos, who back the Young Americas Foundation, are sponsors of the college campus circuits of David Horowitz, Ann Coulter, and Ben Shapiro. So while some speech is being funded by billionaires, who is funding the speech of marginalized students on campus? I would like to raise up some piercing analysis on this subject from the students of ethnic studies here at Berkeley from their statement against racism, white supremacy, and hate speech at UC Berkeley. It's very good. The ethnic studies community knows the value of free speech. We remember that the free speech movement was about the disenfranchisement and civil rights of Black people, as well as the militant organizing against white supremacy in the United States. We remember that the free speech movement was more about the liberation of people of color in the US and the right to speak freely on campus. We remember that in the 1968 to 69 Third World Liberation Front strike, it became the longest and bloodiest student strike in US history. We remember that our spaces were won despite the fact that Berkeley police, along with the National Guard, beat, shot, and gassed students, staff, and community members with batons, guns, and helicopters. We remember that even though our spaces exist, they are not guaranteed to us under the banner of free speech. And we remember that we must constitute spaces from which we will continue to organize against white supremacy, xenophobia, homophobia, transphobia, misogynist, sexist, anti-Black, anti-immigrant violence promoted by white supremacists. I would like to respond as Chancellor to this powerful work and agree that I should have canceled Free Speech Week. I should have denounced racism, hate speech, and violence on our campus, and I intend to do so moving forward. Now, earlier today, I suggested that Ben Shapiro's event was a proper speech event, while Milo Yiannopoulos' event was a mere digital shadow. Since this morning, I have had fruitful discussions with media scholars and student activists, and I asked Professor Kosnick if I might amend my earlier statement in these closing remarks. I have learned from you gracious scholars of media that there is in fact not such a binary between what I might have understood as the shadow and the real. This digital violence has material repercussions, and that as a leader, albeit a non-elected one, it is my duty to work for the dignity and liberation of those facing the most dire circumstances on this campus. Ben Shapiro, apparently, is actually a homophobic, racist rape denier, and his speech, sharing his speech, is not a normal speech event. His speech in our very own Zellerbach Hall shut down classes, made campus dangerous for queer people and survivors of sexual violence, and the militarization, police state, and arrests of students greatly impeded learning on campus. Secondly, framing Milo, whom we know in the area of media studies as the creator of the violent digital harassment tactic known as doxing, and his visit as a shadow, does not take accountability for the vast disruption his Free Speech Week caused across our campus. I now understand that Free Speech Week endangered the physical, not just the shadow, safety of students on this campus. When marginalized students and faculty are being targeted, intimidated, doxxed, and otherwise harassed for doing their work, this is not an issue that can be solved by more speech. Doxing compromises the physical and material safety, as Gail so eloquently described and showed us directly. It causes real emotional and potential physical harm and can compound pre-existing trauma, depression, isolation, and suicidality. Students' speech and labor are being actively repressed by heavily funded alt-right terrorizing. When students and their families face threats to physical safety for holding different beliefs, do they have freedom of expression? Or does their lack of presence at a conference such as this demonstrate that freedom of speech debate is a ruse fully co-opted by white supremacists that must be immediately dismantled? Faculty and students are unable to do their work on a campus so aligned with white supremacy, and this was the foundation of the boycott during Free Speech Week. I would like to make an immediate and public commitment towards dismantling the racist violence UC Berkeley perpetuates on a daily basis against its students, faculty, and campus workers. Here is my commitment to you. We move towards establishing accountability to Indigenous communities for UC Berkeley's violent history. We will immediately repatriate the 10,000 remains that are being stored in Kroger Hall and issue a public apology for UC Berkeley's shameful history. In dialogue with Indigenous communities, we will create an official land acknowledgement and work towards making this a regular function of all campus events. We will take concrete steps to dismantle the anti-Blackness of our campus. This includes hiring more Black faculty, listening to the articulated needs of Black students, and active outreach into communities that surround our campus. Enrollment of Black students on this campus has fallen to less than 3%. This is unacceptable, and clearly the result of Black students not feeling welcome and supported on this campus. We will make our campus compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act and reinstate programs cut from the Disabled Students Program. I will institute immediate investment in mandatory in-person anti-racism training for all students, graduate students, faculty, staff, and administrators. We will immediately disarm campus police and all mutual aid security forces hired to protect speakers who incite hate and violence against academic student employees and other students and workers on campus. We will ensure that no ICE officers will be allowed to endanger academic student employees and other students and workers on this campus. Now, in order to fund these changes, we will commit an equal amount of funds that were poured into mounting the police presence to protect white supremacist speakers, into funding for students of color, disabled students, and poor students. Why are we, I ask myself, spending over $1 million protecting white supremacists when we have students who are homeless, hungry, or working multiple jobs to afford this education we promised them? The answer is, of course, simple. Let's not do that anymore. Now, I would like to speak for a minute about a sponsoring organization of this conference, BridgeCal. And we should all just know that BridgeCal, while maintaining that it is a neutral organization that is interested in a marketplace of ideas, is also the organization responsible for inviting Ann Coulter, homophobic, racist, anti-Muslim speaker, to campus. So, is this conference right here a neutral space? When sponsored by such an organization, is this even a nonviolent space? I want to assert, I want to assert that BridgeCal does not represent me as chancellor, nor does it own me with its deep pockets. In fact, as a metaphor, a kind of shadow gesture, I would like to just briefly and kind of gently set this aside just for a couple of minutes. Yes, okay. We are often taught, and we teach, that our minds are more important to our bodies than our bodies in our classrooms. And yet, when our bodies are physically unsafe or unable to be present in our places of learning, there is no way for education to occur. I refuse to build a campus where we are forcing students to leave their bodies behind. We are not shadows. We are all breathing, living bodies, deserving of respect and dignity. Digital violence is violence. Police violence and its specter are violence. And there will be no more of either on this campus.